Halo 4 has art assets stolen by a mobile game. Another creative director leaves 343 Industries. And they've also announced the next information for the flighting program that's going to take place on PC. Stick around, let's talk about it. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. Today, we have a whole lot of Halo news, so let's go ahead and jump in to the first story. Now, mobile games stealing our assets from popular games is a pretty common occurrence. If you've been on Facebook or the internet at all, you've seen the Pokemon ripoffs that just straight up use Pokemon art and Pokemon models from the games and claim it as their own. Turns out, a game called Stellaris took art assets from Halo 4 and basically photoshopped the image to try to make it look different, but it was spotted by people. And the Stellaris mobile game had a beta running that the then publisher pulled down. Now, the following information comes from PC Gamer, so if you guys are interested, I highly recommend you check out the article, as I'm only pulling what I feel are the most important parts. With that being said, the information reads as follows. The announcement of the sci-fi strategy MMO Stellaris Galaxy Command was interesting because it marked what appeared to be a pretty big move into the mobile gaming market by Paradox, a publisher whose games generally aren't what you would call mobile friendly. But things took an unexpected twist when shortly after the beta went live, Paradox took it down. It had been soft launched in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Sweden. The problem, Paradox said in a tweet, was that at least one piece of artwork in the game was taken from another source. It didn't say who, but it was quickly determined to have come from Halo. Now, the original image can be seen on the ArtStation page of Kenny Magnuson, the technical director of 343 Studios. Paradox, which is publishing the game, and the game is being developed by mobile studio Game Bear, they apologized and took the game offline to perform a full content sweep to ensure that the issue had been resolved. Now, while only one immediate picture jumped out as stolen, it is possible that Paradox is now discovering a more deeply rooted problem. In an updated post earlier, it said that initial analysis of the art assets had been completed. However, they feel that this situation requires more scrutiny. We have taken the decision to continue the hiatus. The game servers will remain offline and its availability will be limited while a full investigation is run. Paradox said, the whole process will take place shortly, and as soon as we're able to update you once again, we will and let you know when it will be possible to play. Now, anyone that's spent pretty much any time on the internet has been hit with ads for mobile games. And a lot of times, and it's a shame to say, and this is why I have absolutely a zero respect for the mobile gaming market when it comes to Android and iOS. Game studios stealing art assets from popular games is a very common thing. And the thing is this isn't just like they took a piece of art and said it was theirs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual art piece that was taken. Now, you see the woman standing here. You can see what looks like a room on a spaceship. And then, of course, you see the tanks from Halo, the Scorpion tank over here on the left. And that's pretty similar. But let's go ahead and take a look at the actual photo that it was taken from. Now, you see that they cropped the image. They photoshopped out the Pelican ships. And they changed the background on it. That is not an accident. This isn't something that they accidentally took and then accidentally photoshopped and then accidentally claimed it was theirs. This is something that was done deliberate. And honestly, if I were Microsoft and 343 Studios, I would pursue this case to the letter of the law and make an example out of them, because this kind of stuff is very dishonest. And again, it is why I have zero respect for the mobile gaming market whatsoever. All right, now moving on to the next news story with regards to Halo. You can find this article over at wccftech.com, and the article headline is Halo Infinite lead producer leaves 343 Industries, community manager denies creative dilemma at the studio. Now, if you guys are interested, again, I will put the link in the description for you to go ahead and read this article. But the information reads as follows. The lead producer on 343 Industries' upcoming Halo Infinite, Mary Olson, has left the studio to join Midwinter Entertainment. Following the departure of the game's creative director, Tim Longo, back in August of this year, the game's lead producer has now left the studio to join former Halo producer and creative director Josh Holmes at scavenger developer Midwinter Entertainment. According to Olson's LinkedIn profile, she's now the head of production at the Seattle-based independent game development studio. There have been various rumors that Olson took over Longo's role following his departure, but as clarified by 343 Industries community manager John Juziak, probably mispronounced that, this isn't the case. I wanted to jump in and clarify what Tim and Mary's roles were at the studio, because there seems to be quite a bit of confusion here, he writes on Reddit. Before that happens, though, I'd like to reassure you that everyone in the entire Halo Infinite team is rallying behind the game and is working hard to make sure we can execute on its vision. Tim's role as creative director was to help make creative decisions around the design of the direction of the game, whether it was campaign, multiplayer, etc. Mary's role was an executive producer and then lead producer on the campaign was to help drive the game to its completion for our holiday 2020 release date, with the latter specifically focusing on campaign deliverables. Unfortunately, the thread's title saying he was replaced with Mary Olson and she also left is far from accurate. It implies that Mary took over creative control of the game and didn't like what she saw and then decided to leave. If that's what actually happened, I could totally understand people getting worried. But that isn't the case, as she was lead producer and not new creative director. The community manager then pointed out that there is no creative dilemma inside 343 Industries. Title is super misleading and there is no creative dilemma inside this studio. And there's no writing on the walls, he implies. Apologies for the long write-up, but I hope it helps clarify. Halo Infinite is slated for holiday 2020 release alongside Microsoft's new Xbox console. So this response from the community manager from 343 Industries stands out to me in a couple of different ways. The first thing being is either A, this guy is trying to nip a problem in the bud before it becomes a big public thing, and what he says could be the case. However, there's that other possibility where there were problems with Tim Longo as a creative director, and maybe he wanted the game to go one way, but the rest of the studio wanted it to go another, so he decided to leave. And then with Mary Olson being brought in as the campaign producer, maybe the campaign is done and finished, and her role at the studio was fulfilled, so she moved on to another job opportunity. Or she didn't like the way that the campaign looked and was going, and decided that it was time for her to leave. I mean, there are a lot of different possibilities, but those are the two that jump out at me the most. Why don't you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, moving on to our last topic, it has been announced what the next Halo Reach flight is going to contain, and that it's only going to be focused on the PC platform. Now, this information can be found over at windowscentral.com. So again, I highly recommend if you guys are interested, check out the article. The link will be in the description. With that being said, the information reads as follows. Halo developer 343 Industries has announced in a blog post that the next PC test flight for Halo Reach is on its way, and that it will offer the most content out of all of the flights so far. Whereas the previous tests have each focused on campaign, firefight, or player versus player matchmaking individually, this upcoming flight will contain a mix of all three of those content. Now, with the campaign, you'll be able to play the Noble Actual and the Winter Contingency mission. Firefight will include both normal and heroic firefight and will be available on the maps Beachhead, Corvette, and Holdout. And when it comes to the player versus player multiplayer, you could expect to see 2v2 Slayer, and it will be available on the maps Countdown, Powerhouse, and Zealot. 4v4 Slayer, Flag and Bomb, Zone Control, Asset Denial, and Action Sack will also be available on the same maps, with adding Tempest into that mix. The 8v8 will be available in the form of Slayer, Flag and Bomb, Zone Control, Asset Denial on the maps Tempest, Breakpoint, and Ridgeline. And the Halo Reach Team Hardcore will be available and will feature Slayer, Capture the Flag, and will be on Countdown and Zealot. And of course, Halo Reach's Invasion Mode will also be up and running. The flight is expected to enter private testing on Monday, October 21st, and if all goes well, it is likely that the flight test will go live sometime later in the week, as 343 Industries stated that it wanted to get it out as quickly as possible. So once the flight does launch, it is also expected that it will last about a week. So it's nice to see that they're making progress with adding Halo Reach to the MCC and adding the MCC to the PC platform. My only thing is that I wish this next flight was on the Xbox platform, even though it's not. But don't forget, in order to be part of the conversation and have your voice heard, hit that subscribe button. If you guys found any informative value to this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing. I upload content weekly. But until next time, everyone, thank you all for joining me here today, and I'll see all of you in the next video.